story about shoes, shame, and how my mother got banned from Loehmann's. So something you should know about my mother is that she was born and grew up in Mexico City, and her family was very poor. And she was also the child of what was called back then a mixed marriage, half Polish-Jewish and half Cuban-Spanish. And those things made her feel growing up like an outsider. And as a result, she learned to be fierce and to stand up for herself and to fight for herself, especially when she thought herself to be the victim of some injustice. And when I was growing up, that always seemed to happen in department stores. Often with me as a reluctant and mortified witness. You just never knew when that temper was going to come out. She has a ferocious temper. She's the most loving and generous and wise person I know, but that temper. Once when we were in Bloomingdale's, she slapped a woman who cut in front of us in line. She said, "I gave her a patch on her tuchus. I just couldn't help myself." So as I grew up, I learned to love going shopping with my mother. She has fabulous taste and amazing endurance, which is really important when you're shopping. And I also learned to laugh at these stories. But when I was a kid, her combativeness and her willingness to make a scene in public was the source of tremendous pain and shame and embarrassment for me. So about 15 years ago, I came to New York with my husband. I had babies for a visit, and I invited my mother to Loehmann's. And I should say Loehmann's was our favorite place to shop. It was obviously famous in New York, designer clothes at discount prices, the back room where the couture was, and then most famously the communal dressing room where all the ladies would offer each other advice. Loehmann's was our happy place. So I invited her to Loehmann's, and she said, "I can't go back there." Okay, what did you do? So she told us the story. A few weeks before, she'd been walking around Loehmann's, and she's in the shoe department. She saw a pair of shoes, red suede high heels. And the display shoe was the last pair in her size. So she took the display shoe, figuring she'll walk around, and in a few minutes, when she's done in the store, she'll go back, she'll get the mate in the box, and she'll go pay. But when she came back, another woman was holding the other shoe. And my mother said, "Excuse me, that is my shoe." And the other woman said, "No, I was here first, it's my shoe." And my mother, well, they went at it. And they went at it, and the fight got so bad and so heated that a manager was called over, like King Solomon and the baby, to determine the fate of the pair of shoes. And when my mother gets emotional and upset, her English deteriorates, and she's just a hot mess. And the manager, understandably enough, found in favor of the woman who was not semi-incoherent and hysterical, the other woman. And at this point, my mother just lost it. But in a moment of eloquent clarity, she said, "You are a racist because I'm a Mexican immigrant. If you want your shoe, you can come get your shoe." And she took the shoe in her hand, marched into the bathrooms at Loehmann's, threw the shoe in the toilet, marched out the door, past the manager and the other customer, and out the door. So we're laughing, listening to the story. We're horrified. And she's also laughing a little surprised, like she's surprised even herself, But she's also defiant. She was right, Okay, this became our favorite story about my mother. It's a family legend. Of all the stories about her temper, this was the most outrageous, and we told it all the time. So now fast forward 14 years. It's last year. Things have changed. Loehmann's, for instance, has gone out of business. I wonder why. They should not have banned my mother. And my mother has become a rabbi. Yes, a rabbi. So we go to New York to visit, and she pulls my husband and I aside, and she goes, "Guys, I need to ask you a favor. Can you please stop telling that story about me and Loehmann's and the shoes?" Turned out, she was the new rabbi of a new congregation. Her new congregation threw her a welcome party, and she's talking to a couple at the party, and it comes out that her son-in-law, my husband, teaches at Smith College, and the couple says, "Oh, that's great. Our daughter just graduated from Smith College. What's your son-in-law's name?" And my mom told them, and they said, "That's an amazing coincidence. He was our daughter's favorite professor. She loved him." And oh my God, she came home with the funniest story that he told the whole class about his mother-in-law and Loehmann's and whoa, wait a second. So when we stopped laughing, I look at my mother, and I see a look on her face I've never seen there before. I see shame. And maybe something changed for me. Maybe the times have changed, maybe I've changed, maybe the times have changed me. But I felt something that I didn't expect to feel. I felt proud. And suddenly that story I'd been laughing at for all those years shifted, and something welled up in me, and I said, Mom, do not be embarrassed about that story. You should never be ashamed of your righteous anger. The Torah says, justice, justice shall you pursue. And sometimes pursuing justice means making a scene in public. And sometimes it even means destroying a beautiful, brand new designer pair of shoes. Thank you.